In this video, we want to show some examples of some common problems that you run into with surveillance video. This is a video of a port, and you can see that it's taken from a fairly high vantage point and with a hand camera. The day that it was taken, it's fairly foggy, so that also, as a lot of times you can't predict the weather, and the weather can pose some problems. So the fog does create a few sets of challenges that we need to overcome to see some details from this video. Here's the original video. You could see by playing it, there's quite a bit of fog and a little blurriness from the motion, and also some jagged edges from the type of file that was generated with the camera. So we need to take a look at all these things and tackle them one at a time, and by the end we should have a fairly clear image. As you can see with this image, we're running into some problems from the interlacing of the video. And you can see all the jaggedness, the motion, there's some strong lines. So the first step we take is to deinterlace the video. So we go over to the filters selection and click on deinterlace. Now you can see that the original image and the deinterlaced version, and there's not the jaggedness that there was in the original. So we've improved the quality of the image enough so now we can focus on improving the contrast and removing the environmental problems from fog. Now we apply the histogram equalization filter and go to the mode for colors, and now you can see we're starting to gain quite a bit of contrast and detail. So you go through you look at the original image, there's the fog, and now you could see the cranes that are used for taking containers off the ships. So this dramatically, with a few clicks, it dramatically improves the quality of the image. So now we actually have something we can look at. Now let's look at the original image. A few other things. You could see here in this image with the background of the cranes. The original image, you can't see the cranes for the fog, and there's very low contrast, so it's pretty poor. Now with a few things, you just can start seeing a lot better details, and we have a much better image to work with. Something that needs to be mentioned as we click through and show some improvements to various aspects of the video is that you can actually apply these filters to a video streaming in real time. So if you have a surveillance asset, fixed camera, UAV, human intelligence gathering video, you can actually apply these filters as you're getting the video. So it improves the quality as you need it, as you can see it. You can't always count on weather, you can't always count on a lot of other things, and operator jerkiness with the camera, things like that, that make things very difficult if you really want to see some fine details. With applying as you go, you can now see some pretty good details from the original to what's already been processed. Now you can see some of the details. Like, take the ship for example. In the original video, you could see that there's just barely a shadow in the background. You can't tell if it's a ship, a building, a skyline, some other object. Now you can see very clearly it's a ship. So now we're going to go to a set of frames where we want to see some details of the ship in front of the cranes that's being offloaded at this port facility. The first thing we're going to do is choose which frames we wish to just focus on. That way it saves a bit of time in the processing if we're only looking at the frames that have the subject that we want to see. Let's choose them now. We're going to select frames, and we choose this frame to start, and let's forward a little bit, and we'll select this frame as the stopping point. Now I've created a small clip that's just a part of the video, but it only shows what we need to see in this case. The subject in this case is the ship that's being unloaded, so we only want to see the details related to this ship. Now what we want to do is stabilize the image. So now we'll select this part of the ship as a reference point, as the area that we wish to specifically stabilize. We'll click on it, select it, and set it as our reference value. Now you can see the effect of the stabilization. This selection, the ship, that part of the ship is perfectly stable. It's not moving. Now if you go back to the original, you can see that there's some motion in it, and it's moving around a bit. But you can see now that after stabilizing the image is now perfectly stable. Now we want to improve the image and actually get much better details. So what we're going to do is average the frames, meaning stack every frame one on top of another, so you're building a much higher depth and higher quality image, and you're removing a lot of the defects that are caused by the different light values of the different frames from sunlight and other things like that. And so by doing this, you're increasing the quality. So we have a much higher quality image, so we can take it and enhance it further from there. Now you see the result, and it's basically a fairly clear image. It's considerably higher quality than we started with, but we can improve it a little bit by improving the contrast. And let's just play around with that a little bit. Now you can see the original image, and then after going through the steps to improve, you can see here now we're left with a fairly high quality image that we can actually analyze and see fine details. That's really what we're trying to achieve here. We can see in a fairly short amount of time we have achieved a significant improvement from the original image. We've taken away the environmental issues, we've taken away the original video quality issues with the deinterlacing, and we've also selected precisely what we want to see and stabilized that image, and then averaged the frames to achieve a much greater depth and higher quality image. And this is something that can be done pretty quickly in the field if necessary, and you're left with a much higher quality image at the end.